Hello everyone, welcome back to 9th grade Ceramics 1 class. So last week we learned how to score and slip to attach pieces of clay together with the purpose of function. Today what we're going to be doing is exploring ways that you can add texture to your clay through carving, impressing, and attaching clay together for the purpose of surface design. So you'll each get 4 clay tiles to embellish with the different techniques that we learned today. And through learning how to create surface design, you can find new ways to be more expressive with your future clay work. Some key vocab for you all to know is carving, which is a method used to remove portions of clay, and incising, which is similar to carving but refers to cutting lines into clay. Grace Depledge is an artist who creates detail in her work through carving and incising. Then there's impressing, which is pressing objects into a clay surface. An artist to look at with this is Alice Ballard, who is an artist who uses objects from nature to press into her work. And then there's joining, which you are all already familiar with, and Morel Dosset is a great artist for you to look at who uses joining as a design tool. The tools you'll need today are carving tools, a needle and knife tool, a rolling pin, slip, and various objects that you'll choose from. And remember, when you're using a knife or needle tool, you're cutting away from your body. And also, as usual, before you leave today, make sure that you're using a wet sponge to clean up any clay dust at your station. And if any clay falls on the floor, make sure that you're cleaning that up so that nobody slips, and to keep our floors nice and clean. And just wiping down our surfaces helps us avoid breathing in clay dust and keeps our studio safe. The first surface design method I'd like you to try is carving and incising. So with incising, you can really play with line work. So I'm going to use my needle tool and my smallest carving tool to just see what kind of lines I can get. So as you can see with the needle tool, it's really thin, precise lines. Whereas if I'm using this carving tool, it's still very small and thin, but we're carving away a bit here. So it's a little different than with the needle tool. And let's say I want to get expressive with movement that resembles something like wind. I might want to take my tool and size wavy swirling lines like that, just to kind of give the impression of that movement. Carving tools come in many different shapes and sizes, so ones like this would be great for taking away large portions of clay. Carving tools like this are pretty versatile, where you may want to use it to also make a line like that, or maybe you want to carve away large portions with it. It's more of a square shape, whereas that's rounded. You could also use this tool to make a pattern. So say you want to just make a little mark making like that. Just little repetitive marks, and that can give you some fun texture to your piece. And I'd like you to just play around with your first tile, making lots of different marks with the carving tools. So now we're going to move on to our next tile and explore creating impressions. So at your tables, there are bins with objects that you'll be able to choose from. And I am going to start with this shell because I'm interested to see what texture I can get with that. So I'm just gonna press. And actually, since this is curved, I'm gonna just try rotating it down like that to get all of that space. So it did something like that. Now the amount of pressure that you use will impact the look of your impression. So For this one, I'm going to press pretty deep into the clay. So I'm pushing pretty hard. And that's what I got with after putting lots of pressure in it. So now I'm going to try pressing very lightly. So just barely at all. You see how that's less defined than that, which could be good if you want it to look very delicate. Like that. Oh, see, that's even lighter. I'm doing barely any pressure at all with that. I also might even want to try layering some of this just to get an interesting little design here. Now, when it comes to pressing more flat objects like leaves or lace, it is helpful to use your rolling pin for this because the rolling pin helps us get all of those little details that would be harder to get with just using our finger. So I'm gonna just lightly place that down on the clay, and now I'm going to take my rolling pin and just roll down just once or twice. And see, now it's flat against the clay, and I'm just going to peel it up. So just continue playing with pressure. And this is a fun way to just get lots of unique little designs and be creative. When you're ready to move on to your third tile, you can take some clay from the back table and make a few small shapes. You can sculpt these, or if you'd like to cut some out, I will leave that up to you. But you will also need your needle tool and the slip that you have been using in class. And you will be joining these onto your tiles by scoring and slipping the same way you have been in previous classes. With your last tile, I want you to take the 3 different surface design techniques that we learned today and combine them all on one tile. Think about how these different techniques can interact with each other. How can they create movement or pattern? And how can these different textures that we make invoke certain emotions and feelings? At each of your seats, you'll find 4 tiles. Each table has a cup containing carving and cutting tools and a bin with impression objects. You'll need to take out your slip that you've each made last week, and you can find the rolling pins and the bag of class clay at the back table. The first thing you'll do is experiment with carving and incising on one tile. Then your second tile will be for pressing objects. Your third will be for joining clay pieces onto the tile. And then your last tile is for combining all 3 surface design methods to create a unique piece. Explore and play with these different techniques, and on Wednesday you'll start brainstorming design ideas for your next project. If you have any questions, let me know, and you may begin.